So now, as promised, joining us live by phone, he's in New York. Where about in New York there, Dan? Good morning, sir.
Fellas, how are you? Great to talk to you.
Likewise. Hey, thanks for joining us again. Dan was one of our first interviews this year earlier on. We launched the show January the 3rd, and he was good enough to stop by while he was moving through the state, and we appreciate that. But we're curious, being down here below the Manson-Nixon line, you're not in New York City, are you?
No.
Okay.
I'm in Saratoga Springs. It's upstate New York. We're not New York City as much as everybody may think. Every time they hear the word New York, they think New York City.
Yeah.
No. Upstate New York is a different world. It's great up here.
Yeah, you can't be in New York City. They like gun. You like guns way too much to hang out in the city.
I can't even bring a squirt gun into New York City. So. I have no. I don't. Right. So, but here's the thing. I just want to say you guys are doing a great thing, and keep up the fight. The good guys always win in the end. Just remember that. You guys are doing a great thing. So what do we want to talk about? Guns and stuff?
Well, Dan, I've got a question for you. I know that, when you had come and joined us in studio, you were doing a bit of a book tour, for your new book, Good Gun, Bad Guy. And I just wanted to see how the book tour has been going for you. I know you had, a few stops in Alabama that you were making as well as in Orlando. So I just wanted to hear how the rest of the tour went and how the book is being received by the people.
Well, thanks for asking. It's going great, and it's a never-ending tour, it seems, because I'm getting requests to speak at events all over the country, and I'm doing tons of radio, and we just did a thing with NRA TV, and so it doesn't seem it's not a defined tour per se. It just keeps going as the excitement for this book builds. More people want to talk about it.
Well, speaking of the book, where can folks go to get a copy?
GoodGunBadGuy.com or .net. GoodGunBadGuy.com. And so it's going fantastic. Gun owners are loving this book because what I'm doing is I'm exposing the lies, the propaganda, and the angry rhetoric that comes from the liberal left anti-gun radicals that do everything they can to demonize guns and gun owners, make people fearful of guns, and try to create a hatred toward gun owners. It's all false. It's all propaganda, and it's all a bunch of nonsense. And I expose it, a lot of their strategies and their tactics, and I kind of leave the anti-gun radicals out in the middle of the street with their pants down.
Right, and that's something I really enjoyed about the book, and also just talking to you and really learning your perspective, because like we mentioned in the lead-in, you were an anti-gun not advocate, but you were against guns, and now seeing and changing the way that you think, and to really bringing it full circle to the fact that you are now a pro-gun advocate, and the fact that this book gives us our pro-gun constitutional conservatives the ammo that we need to fight back against the arguments of the left. And that is something that I found to just be invaluable about this book.
Well, here's the thing with my story, and I hope we have some anti-gunners out there listening right now, because I came from a pro-gun environment. My dad took me hunting and target shooting, so I had an understanding of guns when I was a kid. I wasn't scared of them. What happened to me was I started hanging with the wrong crowd, and I started getting caught up in all the propaganda and all the lies and all the false narrative and fake news around guns that the anti-gun left tries to perpetuate and continues to perpetuate. So I actually got caught up in it and started to believe it. I kind of went anti-gun. It wasn't until I had a situation in my life where I had a moment of clarity, a moment of awareness, and realized that, what am I thinking? This is crazy. Guns are good. The narrative on them created by the left is so bad and negative, and it's so false. Guns are good. Guns save lives 60 to 80 times more than they're used to take lives. So my situation in my life caused me to see this reality and caused me to look at guns from a logical perspective. And I hope that there are anti-gunners out there now listening that are willing to break free from that manipulation and take another look at the logical side of gun ownership and the American tradition of gun ownership and the value and importance of the Second Amendment.
Well, you certainly make your approach, your delivery is very compelling, and I think that's one of the things that this discussion needs. Shifting, kind of changing the topic just a little bit, still very gun-related, we've got some legislation in Florida that you found intriguing as it relates to Stand Your Ground. Yeah, well, this is the Stand Your Ground, from the research that I've done, it was put into place in 2005 as part of Chapter 776 of Florida statutes. It's part of a law that's called the Justifiable Use of Force. Stand Your Ground is a small portion of that. Okay.
Basically, it says a person may meet force with force, including deadly force, if he or she reasonably believes that it's necessary to do so to prevent death or great bodily harm to himself, herself, or another, or to prevent the commission of forcible felony. The difference between 2005 and prior was that what changed here was the responsibility to retreat is gone in the home and workplace. And in a nutshell, what this 2005 piece means is that you must be in a place legally. There must be a reasonable imminent fear of death. You're not the aggressor or breaking the law. And if so, you may meet force with force, but not escalate the force. Okay. Now, 2014, they extended the Stand Your Ground by adding warning shots to be allowed. You guys might remember the woman who got 20 years for shooting a warning shot because she was in a domestic abuse relationship. She goes to jail, or for doing that. So they amended that in 14 to allow a warning shot to be legal.
And well, I guess I don't necessarily disagree that it should be legal. I'm not a fan of warning shots. I think when the gun's not a negotiating tool, when it comes out, it's time for somebody to go to the morgue.
I understand. Excuse me. Totally agree with that. But on the other hand, my position on that, and what I agree with, is that because she shouldn't get 20 years.
Oh no, absolutely, and that you're right, because the legislation, the way it was, paved the way for her to get a terrible sentence, and I'm glad that was part of this correction.
Now, and here's the thing: in this year, another amendment was added. And correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think I got this data pretty accurate. But if you guys know something else, fill me in. But the new amendment shifts the burden of proof from the person defending themselves to the prosecutor. In other words, the person defending themselves doesn't have to prove they were right. The prosecutor now has to prove they weren't.
I understand that to be the case, and that has been one of the big points of discussion, even here on our show during the Freedom Matters discussion. And I think that's huge, because the innocent until proven guilty concept, that our position as it relates to the state and them having to prove their case, this was where the legislation was such that the court was able to interpret it where it placed the onus on the citizen, on the victim. And in turn, you had to prove you prove that you were in fear, prove that you were right in using that. And so I was also very relieved when that was corrected as well. But that's caused a lot of people a lot of heartburn.
Yeah, well, you guys you got a Republican senator, Dennis Baxley. He represents Marion Lake and Sumter counties. He supports the bill. Now, other supporters of the bill, of the law, there are many other supporters, but the people who defend themselves should be innocent until proven guilty, not the other way around. Anti-gun politicians, though, are trying to convince people that this will encourage violence. So without Stand Your Ground, and here's my point to all this, without the Stand Your Ground, the Second Amendment means nothing. The Second Amendment reminds us that we have the right to bear arms. Stand your ground is the act of using those arms. What good are guns if the laws restrict the use of them? Right. This is the exact situation anti-gun politicians wanted to create. They can't ban guns, so they try to criminalize the use of them for self-defense. And without the ability to stand your ground, the Second Amendment doesn't exist.
Right. Well, Dan, you also mentioned when we were talking about the book tour that you were in, that you're still continually, going on and getting new gigs for all the time. That you did speak to, you were on NRA TV, and this weekend we also have the National Convention for the NRA taking place in Atlanta, and President Donald Trump, as well as our Governor Rick Scott, are going to be attending and also going to be keynote speakers. Just talk about how awesome it is, or just how good it is to have a president that is behind the Second Amendment, that is behind protecting our liberties when it comes to gun rights.
I always talk about the narrative being the most important thing, and this is changing the narrative. See, anti-gun politicians have controlled the narrative, and it's always been an anti-gun narrative. That's all changing. They're scrambling, and they don't like it one bit. But it's absolutely fantastic that the NRA and Donald Trump are teaming up to kind of re-educate people on the importance of that Second Amendment. That wasn't put in place just willy-nilly. It was there for a reason, because our founders knew that it would be very important for people to be able to protect themselves. And we actually have a Republican president who is defending that founding right, if you will. I think it's absolutely fantastic.
Well, amen, brother. I'm right there with you. Listen, before we go, we got just a few seconds left. Tell everybody the name of the book and where they can get it, and we appreciate you joining us this morning.
Well, it's called Good Gun, Bad Guy. You can get it at goodgunbadguy.com, and I encourage everybody to take a look. I think it will enlighten people to the way the anti-gun side of the conversation think. And I think in order to either help them, which some of them can be helped, believe it or not, or defeat them, we need to understand how they think. Thanks so much, you guys.
Hey, thank you for joining us.
I truly appreciate it, and I hope to talk to you soon.
All right, man. Have a great day. Thanks for the good work you're doing. You are listening to the Voice of Freedom today on Freedom 93.3 FM. Stick around. Catch Us a Criminal coming up next. Miller's Tree Service sponsor this half hour. 7 years in a row. Best of tally. 894-TREE. 894-TREE online at millerstreesrv.com.
You can fight crime, call Crime Stoppers. You can fight crime, call Crime Let me hear you say yeah. See something, yeah. Say something, yeah. Do something, yeah. 850-574-TIPS.
850